Congratulations, you have completed your manuscript and it's time to prepare all other files for submitting to the journal. A cover letter is among the necessary files listed in the author guides of most publishers. Most students and new academic writers treat the cover letter as just a formality and therefore copy some sentences from the articles into the letter and submit it with other files. This is a big mistake. A cover letter is more than yet another file. Your cover letter will usually be the first document viewed by the editor of a journal and thus your first and sometimes the only impression you have on the editor. Although some editors carefully screen your manuscript to decide its suitability for their journal, some editors only rely on the information you provide in your cover letter to decide whether to proceed to the review process or to return your manuscript. So, even if you've written a great piece of scientific text, you will lower your chances of getting it to the review process if the editor is not convinced that your research and results fit the scope of the journal. So please do yourself a favor and take 20 minutes of your time to compose a convincing letter to the editor. Here are some of my best make or break points that you don't want to miss. The first thing you definitely want to consider is the overall look and format of the letter. Even though it's a Word document, it should have the look and feel of a letter, such as a date, your name, address and affiliation, the opening of the letter and a signature at the end. Address the letter to the editor with his or her name, or if there are multiple editors, address them using a slash. I cannot stress this enough. Do not just use a general purpose addressing term such as to whom it may concern or to the editor of the journal of such and such. It just shows that you did not even care to look up the editor's name on the journal's website and all you care about is getting your article published. This also shows your professional attitude towards the scientific community to whom the editors belong. In the first paragraph, you want to mention the full title of your article and the name of the journal you're submitting it to show that you're not using a general purpose letter that you would send to any journal. You may accompany this with a sentence to clarify the type of your article, for example, full-length article or short reports, and the type of research, for example, qualitative, quantitative, mixed method, or critical analysis. In the second paragraph, write a short description of your article, its significance, and the reasons you think it fits the scope and objectives of this journal. Accompany it with a brief overview of the main results and how your work contributes to the field of study or the scientific community you're writing for. Most definitely state any conflict of interest or lack thereof and confirm that you have not sent this manuscript anywhere else to be considered for publication. If you have co-authors, here's also the place to agree with this submission on their behalf and be sure you have their agreement. In writing all the above statements, do remember to be brief and to the point. You can of course use some of the sentences from your article to explain your research and its significance, but don't try to stuff all your points here. The cover letter is meant to be, wait for it, an official letter, and as such it should be kept short and precise. Just think about the number of letters each editor has to go through on a daily basis. By writing a long-winded letter full of explanations, you will increase the chances of leaving a bad impression right from the start. An absolute no-go zone that some students enter is an initial greeting and perhaps thanking the editor for their approval of their past articles, or even worse, reminding the editors that they have met in such and such conference or that they are a big fan of their recent books, and the like of these types of not very professional way of addressing an editor of a journal. It may even come across as if you're trying to gain their favor. But perhaps the most important part that most authors miss when writing the cover letter is that they are allowed to nominate a few reviewers. Some journals let you submit the names of a few reviewers with the submission form. Others do not leave a space for it. In either case, the cover letter is a great opportunity for you to suggest someone whom you think will be able to give informative feedback on your work. However, the editors are not obliged to accept your nominees, and there's absolutely no way for you to know if they have accepted your suggestions. The reason that many publishers now allow this is that the articles far outnumber the reviewers, and because the reviews are voluntary activities, publishers usually have a hard time finding suitable reviewers for your work, so this works for both parties. You also get the opportunity to mention any research-based conflict of interest with a person or a researcher or a reviewer, especially if your work belongs to a particular school of thought or a niche scientific methodology, and you're afraid of biased feedback. If this is so, clearly state your reasons. Bear in mind to be honest and not to nominate a colleague, a friend, or someone whom you think will be very lenient or will be able to recognize you from your manuscript. Apart from this being an unprofessional attitude, it may even end up the opposite of what you expect. Here is an anecdote from a professor I know. A friend of this professor has nominated him as a reviewer, but the professor did recognize that person from the manuscript. I think because of the topic and research he knew that person was conducting or the writing style. The professor didn't like the dishonesty, so he wrote much harsher feedback than he would have otherwise. Just saying.